Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. I hope you're having a fantastic day so far. So I really got to thinking over the past week and even month or so about, our current situation with Social Security. The fact that many people are just not receiving enough benefits to get by. And over the past 20 or so years, the benefits that are being paid out are less and less compared to what the actual cost of living is. So we've had numerous studies like by the Senior Citizens League, for example, that over the past 20 years, benefits are actually 36% less than what they should be according to the purchasing power. So even though, yes, there are adjustments every single year from the cost of living adjustment, they do base it off something called the CPIW, but the CPIW hasn't really closely tracked enough what inflation actually has been. So there's another formula called CPIE, and that actually much closer tracks what inflation actually is. But even the CPIE over the past, let's say like 20 or 30 years, probably realistically hasn't actually kept up with inflation. And the models of inflation have changed over time. But if you look at, numerous, goods and services that we're paying for, even like this year where we received a cost of living adjustment of 8.7%, we can look at numerous goods and services across the board and we can see that they've gone up, well more than 8.7%. So even with one of the largest increases in, let's say, like 40 years, it still really wasn't, at least in my opinion, enough to keep up with inflation. Let me know what your thoughts and comments are below. So obviously there are a lot of problems within Social Security. The fact, once again, that payments are just not enough. But then, of course, in, let's say, like 9 or 10 years, they're now telling us that if nothing is done about the Social Security Trust Fund, it's going to go insolvent. So then in 2032 or 2033, whatever you're receiving then, you're actually going to receive a cut in your benefits by anywhere between 20 to 25%. So if nothing is done, if they're not able to somehow bring more money into the trust fund, or they decide to, really hurt Social Security beneficiaries by cutting their benefits and sending less money out from the trust fund, then everyone receiving at that point in time is going to receive a benefit cut of 20 to 25%. That means that if you're receiving a $1,000 monthly benefit, the $1,000 monthly benefit that already really isn't going to go too far is going to be cut by 20 to 25%, which means your new benefit would be anywhere between $750 to $800. So obviously, that would be completely unfair and they need to do something about this. And, some lawmakers are really putting their best foot forward. So we do have a few different bills out there currently in 2023. And these bills have actually been introduced in prior Congresses, but they haven't done anything about it. And I'm going to get to that point a little bit later on in today's video. So one of the bills that we have is called the Social Security 2100 Act, that is by John Larson. We have the Social Security Expansion Act, that is being led by Bernie Sanders. And then we also have the Social Security Fairness Act, that is being led by Garrett Graves and Sherrod Brown. So we have three bills there. We're going to be discussing what's in the bills, how they would benefit all Social Security beneficiaries. So starting out, we have the Social Security Fairness Act. And basically what this would do is repeal the windfall elimination provision and government pension offset. So if you're like a public servant, if you're a public worker, if you're a police officer, firefighter, teacher, unfortunately, whatever you receive whenever you retire, your Social Security benefit will actually be reduced, and for their spouses as well. So they're going to be receiving less in Social Security benefits. So they want to repeal those. Back in the 80s, they made these two provisions because they said that it was unfair that these people were receiving too much in Social Security benefits because they were also receiving a pension. So they want to repeal both of those provisions. And this is actually very much a bipartisan thing. A lot of, bills in Congress, we have either just Republicans supporting it or we just have Democrats supporting it. But this, we actually have both parties supporting it. And in the House, they have almost 300 co-sponsors. This is a lot of co-sponsors. For a bill to pass in the House, they only need 218 co-sponsors. This one actually has 300, or close to 300 at least. Then, of course, we look at a couple of other bills that are currently in Congress that have been introduced in 2023. We have the Social Security 2100 Act. Once again, that is by John Larson. And in this bill, they would be lifting the special minimum benefit to 25% above the federal poverty line. So if you're receiving the bare minimum, the special minimum benefit, if this were to pass, you would be receiving an increase of close to or right around $485 per month. So this would do a great deal in helping out those beneficiaries. And in addition to that, everyone else receiving Social Security would receive an automatic increase of 2%. So obviously that would be helpful as well. 2% isn't a lot, but it's still, a free increase pretty much on top of the COLA that you would be receiving. Then on top of that, they would also be changing the way in which the COLAs are adjusted every single year over to the CPIE method. I touched base on this earlier on in today's video. On average, the CPIE is generally around 0.2% higher than the CPIW, which isn't going to be significant, but over the period of this, say like 5, 10, 15, or even 20 years, it's really going to rack up and make these increases much larger than what they currently are now. Then finally, we have the Social Security Expansion Act by Bernie Sanders. This bill, in my opinion, is even better because it not only increases benefits by $200 per month for everyone, which of course is going to be better than the 2% increase in the Social Security 2100 Act by John Larson, but it also, changes the COLA over to the CPIE, which means larger increase each and every year, and also lifts the special minimum benefit to 25% above the federal poverty line, which, like I said, would be an increase for those people who are receiving the special minimum benefit to $485 per month. So that would be a large increase, a $485 increase for those receiving the special minimum benefit. And then for everyone else, it would make for a $200 increase. So all in all, that is pretty solid. So once again, these three bills have been introduced in Congress, and basically how these bills work, a lot of you guys, I'm sure probably already know, but how these bills work, every Congress works out to being, every 2 years, because every 2 years we vote in new House of Representatives. So these bills are introduced, and when they're introduced, they basically have either a year or two to be passed. And if they're not passed in that year's Congress, then they pretty much expire, and then they had to be reintroduced in the next Congress. So 2023 through 2024 makes this year's Congress. 2021 through 2022 made last year's Congress. And actually, all three of these bills were introduced in last Congress as well. And guess what? They didn't pass. So they expired, and then they had to be renewed, and they had to actually reintroduce all three of these bills. Now, why exactly did these bills not pass? I mean, why, for example, the Social Security Fairness Act, why did that bill not pass that would repeal the WEP and GPO? It had bipartisan support. It could have easily passed the House. Democrats had, full control of that chamber, and there were more than enough Democrats to pass that bill. There were more than enough Republicans. But guess what? House Speaker Nancy Pelosi did not put the bill on the floor for a vote. It could have easily been passed in the Senate, but guess what? Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer decided to not put the bill on the floor for a vote. Why didn't he do that? I have no idea. They could have easily passed that bill in the Senate. They could have passed that bill through the House, the Senate, and then Joe Biden could have signed that bill into law, and then we would have, police officers, teachers, firefighters, other public servants receiving more Social Security payments every single month, greatly helping out them as well as their spouses also. But, they didn't pass it. They didn't try to pass it. Why not? I really have no clue. And then, of course, we had the Social Security 2100 Act. Again, in the last Congress, we had House Speaker Nancy Pelosi controlling the Democrat House chamber. We had Democrats with a pretty big majority. And this bill was being led by Democratic House Representative John Larson. But when it came down to it, they just did not vote on the bill. Pelosi did not put the bill on the floor for a vote. Why didn't she do so? I certainly have no idea. And then we had the Social Security Expansion Act by Bernie Sanders, and neither Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer nor House Speaker Nancy Pelosi decided to put that bill on the floor for a vote. Why didn't they do so? I really have no idea. I mean, if Democrats really wanted to stand behind Social Security and say like, hey, this is something that we stand for. We want to increase benefits for people on Social Security. That's what sets us apart from Republicans who are wanting to slash the benefits. Let's say that, last Congress, the Democrats could have very easily passed the Social Security 2100 Act through the House, which would have increased benefits by 2% for everyone and $485 for those receiving the special minimum benefit. And even though it would have probably failed in the Senate, they probably would not have gotten the 60 votes they needed. At least, the Democratic Party could have said like, hey, at least we tried. We passed this bill through the House. All the Democrats stand behind these increases. But yet, they decided to not even vote on the bill, even though they really could have made a strong talking point by passing the bill through the House and showing that all Democrats are in favor of increasing these benefits for Social Security beneficiaries. Now, on the other hand, we do see the bills that they actually do end up voting on in Congress. So, for example, we have these bills that would be like expanded child tax credits. So for those with children, they would be getting monthly payments. That's great and all. Then, of course, we have the bipartisan infrastructure bill. Some could make a case that that bill perhaps might be worthy as well. Then we had the boost to unemployment benefits. So for those who were unemployed, they were receiving checks of $300 in addition to what they were already receiving. We had the Paycheck Protection Program, which was sending out, thousands of dollars to businesses to keep their employees around. But of course, to that, there was a lot of fraud that we found out later on, which was quite ridiculous. A lot of waste of taxpayer money there. Then we have the $7,500 tax credits to those who buy electric vehicles like Teslas. So we have all those bills and provisions that people in Congress, both Republican and Democrat, are willing to pass. But when it comes down to Social Security beneficiaries and helping them out, well, there's crickets at the end of the day. So it really seems like at this point, Democrats and Republicans will pass the bills that they want to pass. But when it comes down to Social Security benefits, it doesn't seem like either party really cares. No party is really standing behind these bills and actually forcing a vote on them, which, is quite unfortunate. And, what exactly do we need in order to actually finally pass these bills and, make sure that we're being held accountable for voting yes or no on any of these bills? Well, in my opinion, at least, we really need a president who stands behind Social Security firmly. I mean, we can have someone like Joe Biden standing up and say, I really want to help Social Security beneficiaries. We can have Donald Trump saying the same thing. But at the end of the day, they're not really using their platform to do so. Both presidents are right now saying that we should not be touching Social Security because, it's not really going to impact them. The solvency problem isn't going to come until 2033. And at that point, they're going to be well out of office. They're going to serve their time, whether it's 4 to 8 years. They're going to be out of office and it's not really going to impact them. So we need a president who stands firm behind Social Security, saying that we need to fix the solvency issue. And then we also need to increase benefits as well. But let me know what your thoughts and comments are below. As always, would love to read them. But that's all the news that we have for today's video. I certainly hope that you enjoyed. If you did, again, I would greatly appreciate if you could give this video a like. Consider subscribing to my channel if you have not already. And I will see you in the next video.